long as Kawhi Leonard is in the San Antonio Spurs' property, he's under contract. As long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always some hope that things can be repaired. Obviously, he's probably being kept, in the loop as far as what the Spurs are going to probably be trying to do in regards to trying to trade him, which he's requested. But at the same time, they're also sending signals like, listen, we still want to work this out. So if we get down to the wire and all of a sudden, Kawhi, you have a change of heart, let's sit down, let's talk, let's try to work it out. And I think also Kawhi has to also, in his head, he has to be prepared to possibly come back here for another season, because if the Spurs don't find a deal that's good enough for them, they don't pull that trigger. And I don't blame them for not pulling that trigger. It has to be a win-win for both parties. It just can't be a one-sided thing. Kawhi Leonard is under contract. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar player. The Spurs are not going to give him up for anything. And so he has to honor that deal. And I don't think he'll sit out. I know all that, the rumblings have been sitting out. I don't think that's going to happen. So, again, as long as he's in the Spurs program, as long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always room for things to be worked out, even if it's slim. When training camp comes around, I believe Kawhi Leonard is going to be 100%. Again, I don't see him sitting out. I don't think he'll use that tactic to do that. It will diminish his value significantly, and he understands that. So I don't think that's the case at all, unless the injury is that bad again. And then if it's that bad, then also you diminish your value, and also people start to look at this and say, wait a minute, maybe the Spurs were smart to not give him that max contract. Maybe the people were smart to not give up all these assets. So again, I don't think Kawhi uses that. I think he will be 100% come training camp with any team that he's with.
All right, thanks to Jabari Young again from the San Antonio Express News. Billy King, Greg Anthony. We talked earlier in the show on whether you believe the Lakers should provide that Godfather-type offer to the Spurs in exchange for Kawhi Leonard. But what about teams in the Eastern Conference? Now that LeBron, who has dominated the East for 8 straight years going to the finals, GA, what about Boston? What about Philly? Teams who haven't made big moves. They've had to make some minor moves here in the first couple of days of free agency. Should they be pretty aggressive?
I would be. Listen, I think if you're Boston, it's not just about being the favorites to win the East. You want to have a chance to actually win it. Mm-hmm. And as much as you love their young talent, to assume that they're good enough to win it, I think would be a bit of fool's gold. I love Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they're not at the level of Kawhi Leonard. And I just think if you could make a deal to get Kawhi Leonard, if you're the Celtics or the Sixers, you now get yourself to a point where you could potentially win it all. And that's why I think those two teams should be in that mix.
Well, I think the Celtics, I think Danny Ainge believes that they are good enough to compete with Golden State. So he's thinking getting Gordon Hayward back, getting Kyrie back, that they're going to be okay. I think the Sixers are a team that need that piece. They need Kawhi Leonard to go along with Simmons, to go along with Embiid. So for them, I think it makes much more sense because you add that piece, and Brett Brown coached him, so he knows him, right. And maybe he stays there, and now you've got those three to go long term. So I think it's more apparent for the Sixers, but I think they can't give away so much, and he leaves and hurts their franchise. So that's one thing I think. There was a report out there, I think, where they're asking 3 first-round picks from the Sixers. And right. To me, I don't think they do that. So I think both teams are going to be patient because both of them know that they're on the cusp. Sixers made the second round. Boston thinks we got that far without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, so we're going to be good.
See, I disagree with you on this, though, Billy, because if I'm Boston or Philly, it's just like when you made your deal for LeBron. If I get Kawhi Leonard on that Sixers roster, those first-round picks are lottery picks. Yeah. They're late first-round picks. I can withstand that for 3 years. Right. My core, he would be my oldest, best player at 27.
Right.
My other 2 guys are early 20s. I can live with that deal. And if again, those 3 picks may not ever resort in a player of the caliber, and it won't allow you to compete for a championship today. And I have the same scenario with Boston. Boston has a really, really good team. But with Kawhi and Gordon Hayward, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward coming back, they're still going to have to shuffle that lineup some. And now they're going to go in with a different mindset. They're going to have the expectation factor over their head. They're not going to be the really good story anymore. And when you have expectations, things change. You see teams differently now. I just think if either of those teams has a chance to pull the trigger, I think you almost have to. I think he could be a difference maker. Now, the question is, can you re-sign him? That's the bigger issue.
Didn't Paul George owe us something? Right?
Well, yeah, but Paul George is Paul George.
Lakers,
and also, Paul George never said he was going to L.A. That's what all the speculation was. And, again, same thing with Kawhi Leonard. I haven't heard. He said he liked it, but I never heard him say, I'm going to L.A. I never heard that.
But he said his dream was to play in L.A., right?
But also, I think the difference is Oklahoma City was a team that, they had been winning for a long time. So the culture was already set of a team that been to
But doesn't a team like Boston have to believe in their culture to say that if we give up a lot to get Kawhi, we can use these 12 months as a recruiting pick as opposed to maybe one phone call in free agency?
Yeah, but I think Boston feels they've got all these pieces there, so they don't have the Sixers. On the other hand, to give up 3 picks, and also you're going to give up some players. Right. Sarge and like that. So to me, that's a lot, especially if you know he's not going to stay.
Well, that's the issue. If I got a guarantee that he's going to re-sign, if I'm Philly, I could absolutely make that deal.
Well, stay tuned. It's been a busy start to free agency. We
2
may
first
get
rounders.
ourselves
two.
Give him the Miami 2021. The Miami pick in there you go.
17. Well, LeBron James is off to L.A., but what's left behind in Cleveland? Kevin Love is still there. Should Kevin Love be dealt, or should the Cavs bring him back?
Did you say the logo's still there?
Of LeBron returning to Cleveland or not. Now we know he is heading to Los Angeles to play for the Lakers. Monday, Jason Lloyd of The Athletic says that multiple sources from around the league insist that the Cavs are indeed open to moving Kevin Love. He's on the books for $24 million next season, $25.5 million on a player option for the 1920 season. Billy, should the Cavs look to deal Kevin Love?
I don't think they should look the deal, but I think they should listen to any offers from anybody because they're in a position right now. They're not where they were trying to get to a championship. So they got to listen. If somebody makes a deal for Kevin Love, even though he's in the last year of his deal, so you don't want to take a contract back, now this is somebody you want to build with going forward. So if you're getting young pieces, yes. But just to trade them, I wouldn't just give them away. There are other guys on that roster with 2 years on their deal. I would try to do everything I can to move them to try to give you cap flexibility. But Kevin Love is somebody that if you want to let him play it out and then use that space at the end of the year or maybe trade him at the deadline. But, you're going to listen to offers right now because you're not really going anywhere right now. LeBron's gone, so you're going to listen to offers to anybody in that roster. And Kevin's probably the most valuable.
And the other thing that you could also entertain is if you feel like you have a bad contract, you could put that in the deal. If you want Kevin Love, you've got to take this contract with it.
Like George Hill.
George Hill, you might even consider J.R. Smith. Yeah. So like those are other ways that you can try to get rid of contracts that you deem to be bad contracts at this point based on where that roster is. So it's something that they're definitely going to have to look at moving forward. And if you're Kevin Love, you probably would welcome the opportunity, having gotten used to playing for championships. Right. He'd probably like the opportunity to go play for a contender.
Looking up and down the East, with LeBron out, are the Cavs a playoff team?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just don't think so.
Right, LeBron.
Well, remember, this team with LeBron won 50. Right. It wasn't like they were winning 60, 62. Right. So that roster, absent LeBron, absent Kyrie, it's not quite the same.
And they still got decisions like Hood's a free agent, so they've got to make some decisions on some guys.
There are still plenty of good free agents out in the market, both of the unrestricted and restricted variety. We come back on this edition of Free Agent Fever. We'll take a look at a big man who Houston would love to bring back, and other GMs salivating to put out an offer sheet on Clint Capella. Where will he end up?
More excitement than just utter surprise, and you better believe that the sun is definitely shining out here in L.A. today. A lot of Lakers fans are really happy. LeBron is in that ilk. I mean, he's as good as it gets. LeBron is as good of a player as this NBA has ever seen. And him going to the Lakers, they're not a championship caliber team right now today, but they're a playoff team, and they're a team that can win a series or two. I just don't think that they are quite as good as Houston or Golden State right now, But this is huge for Magic, huge for the Lakers, and and big for the NBA.
Well, Kevin McHale and Derek Fisher reacting to the news of LeBron going to the Lakers. Also got the big stunner of the Warriors getting DeMarcus Cousins, but still plenty of great talent out in the market. Many of the restricted free agent variety, including Clint Capella, who reportedly met with the Rockets on Sunday. His agent aggressively, according to reports, trying to seek other offers. He's a guy that gave the Rockets. Capella did about 14, 11, and 2 blocks a game. And now with DeMarcus Cousins going to the Warriors, isn't there even more of a sense of urgency to bring back Capella?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you forget that this team was a game away from making it to the NBA Finals. They had 2 opportunities to close out the Warriors, and you could argue, but for that injury to Chris Paul, they may very well have done it. And the reason why they may have done it is Clint Capella is a huge part of that. And we were talking earlier, Billy, I mean, once they went all in on Chris Paul, that in essence means they got to go all in on Clint Capella, because without him on that roster, there's not a guarantee that they're the second best team or one of the top 2 teams in the Western Conference.
Well, and you look at the fact they lost Trevor Ariza, who was a big part of their defense, and Capella's a big part of defense. So if you don't re-sign him, that's 2 of your defensive players, and you got to go play Golden State now, who's just added Boogie Cousins, and they got the offense. Even though you came close, those 2 guys are a big part of it. So, and also the fact next year there are going to be a lot of teams with cap space. So if he takes just the qualifying arm, which is his decision, next year he's unrestricted, and you may lose him because everybody's going to be going after him.
Billy, let's look at some of these other guys. I want to kind of lump them together with Zach LaVine and Jabari Parker, some of these guys. From a team standpoint, is there a concern that you could kind of tick off the player, that you're making them go search out for that other offer that you indeed are intending to match rather than just giving him what you'd pay him?
Well, some of them you are. Like Jabari, I think Milwaukee it's like a little love-hate relationship there. They're not sure what they want to do. But Capella is somebody definitely you worry about. But Jabari, I think they're trying to get the number to their liking if they're going to bring him back. Zach LaVine, I think there's a relation there. They're negotiating where they both feel comfortable. I think that one is not as much where they can tick him off. I think he wants to be there. They want him there. They're just trying to get to the right number because there are some teams out there that can put an offer sheet. Atlanta could put one on Zach LaVine. So they don't want to get to the point because a lot of agents, what they'll do, they'll go to Atlanta and say, put an offer sheet. We know Chicago match it. Just put it in. You don't have to force it. So teams have done that and forced those other teams to have to match.
And I don't think that and from a team standpoint, you almost want to allow the market to be set. And from a player's perspective, if you're not a max guy, you got to almost be willing to bet on yourself. And by that, I mean some of those guys like Clint Capella, he may not want to sign the extension. He may want to let his deal play out because he's going to have tremendous value next season. And for him to do what he needs to do is a lot easier than a guy that's got to go get 28 a night.
Yeah.
You know, his skill set, he's going to be comfortable doing what's necessary for him to be successful in that situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out because now that all the big fish are gone, to your point with a team like Atlanta, you may start to see some of these deals offered to some of these restricted free agents.
No Brinks truck being backed up to Isaiah Thomas, but is there a market for IT right now?
I think there's a market, but maybe not the number he wanted. He may end up getting a deal like Cousins got, where it's a 1 year, 5.3. But if he's going to do that, he's got to go to the right situation where he's allowed to flourish and play and get his numbers and prove it right. He's the old IT that was in Boston.
And it probably won't be in L.A.
Well, maybe the Clippers.
It could be with the Clippers, but I don't think there's any doubt. And you know what? If I'm IT, he might want a 1 year deal too, for an opportunity to prove his value. And again, there's going to be a lot of money in free agency next year because there's going to be some big names out there, and not everybody can sign them. And if he goes to the right situation, he could very well find himself with a chance to cash in.
All these guys taking 1 year deals makes me wonder if we're going to be looking next season to see if guys are playing for a contract or playing to win, which sometimes can be different.
And next year we'll be on from July 1st until like July 9th with all these guys, all this money.
Yeah, right.
We're going to be on every day, all day.
Well, that's fine. You love that, right?
Yeah.
All right. This shock still has not officially subsided yet. DeMarcus Cousins going to Golden State. More reaction from the league and the world.